How's the purple holding up?
I mean, it's there. Literally one person commented on it this week.
So maybe you
So,
could get away with a lot more than you think you could.
I mean, I guess it would be more obvious if it were like, hot pink or, but it kind of sort of blends.
I suppose
But
you make
well,
points.
you can't see the bleach spots. Like, you think that part would stand out, but
I'm so sorry. In case anybody wants an explanation, I bleached and dyed Brooks's hair in a hotel bathroom at like what 12:30 at night.
yeah, about that.
It was fun.
Yeah,
I had a
it looks.
great time. I also got this mug at my local Target. Look at
Oh, I
him.
saw that at Target. I was like, why does that look familiar?
Because he's precious and I absolutely had to have him.
Those with the pumpkin one.
It does.
The
But
very, yeah.
why were you dyeing your friend's hair in a hotel bathroom, you ask? Because we went to another convention. We went
Indeed.
to Mid-Hudson Comic Con.
Yeah. Yes, we did.
I had fun.
Yeah, that was a good time. Got to try out some new costumes, and it's always fun to be recognized for what you are
Sorry,
and have
what
to.
is that behind you?
We're not talking about that right now.
Okay.
That's for later.
So we're just gonna. Okay.
Yeah, look
I
at
don't know why I didn't think of it when you texted me.
when I
But,
said there's going to be an extra long worsening segment this week.
yeah. Yeah. But,
Yeah.
I guess we'll do the episode first and then get to it, even though I, very much would like to discuss that with you. But let's start with con stories.
Yes. Stories, fun stories.
I did the con debut of SpongeBob SquarePants, which was very fun for me. I've had that one sitting around since college and just have only ever used it for Halloween. Maybe twice on this podcast? Can't
I think
remember.
so.
Either way,
This one's,
at least once. But I finally did the con debut of that, which was great. Although the reason why is slightly annoying is because I bought a wig to upgrade my flashback Pop and Hill cosplay, and it didn't arrive in time.
yeah, that is unfortunate. Which, by the way, I finally brushed out my power wig today.
How did that go for you?
Yeah. So pretty excited about that.
Is she once again usable? I ask because I know I'm going to borrow it at some point.
Yep, it's completely detangled. I put it in a loose braid and put it back in the bag it came in, and
Can you see my glasses continually fogging up as I try to take a sip of this tea?
yep.
She's very fresh.
So that's
Anyway.
exciting. It only took me how many months to do that? Was that like May?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So like 4 months maybe?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's whatever.
But it's done. It's done.
At least we have that. It
Yeah.
did indeed happen.
Mm-hmm. And you got to do your Nadja cosplay again, but with Laszlo.
Finally, that was very exciting, although I feel like I didn't do as good of a job with the makeup this time for whatever reason. I am not good at regular everyday makeup, and I feel like that works to my disadvantage with certain cosplays where it's like, yes, technically I have to do makeup to make myself look like I'm dead, but on top of that is just a person wearing very professionally done normal makeup.
Yeah.
Which I'm not great at. So that kind of bites me in the ass.
Yeah, makeup is not my strong suit either, so I
But
would be.
hopefully I will continue to improve. We'll see. Fingers crossed. But I had fun. It was a little smaller than I was expecting, but I still had a good time.
Yeah, it was definitely smaller than I thought it would be. But yeah, it was nice. It was nice to get to see what I'm gonna start referring to as our con friends.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, running into people that I knew at a convention was really fun. And
Yeah.
I gotta say, staying in the like attached hotel, so nice.
Yeah.
I've never done that before. Like I've never had the experience of like I'm staying where I can just like walk right in from my hotel room. Oh my god, that's
It was
delightful.
so nice, yeah.
Absolutely
Especially,
fantastic. 10 out of 10.
yeah. Yeah, and I had
Luna.
2 brand new costumes
I know, I was so proud of you.
to do at once because I had my Shinobu and then I had my Sypha, which multiple people kept thinking I was somebody from something else when I was
Oh, from
Sypha.
Legend of Korra?
I did get that once,
Yes.
yeah. Um, or the woman who thought I was a character from Star Trek.
I mean, I
And there were
guess.
a couple other people I don't remember. They're like, "Oh, are you so and so?" I'm like, "I don't know who that is," but no. But I enjoyed that costume. I just because like the arm things were fun and I had so many like flowing triangles coming off me. I
Which do
enjoyed
you
that.
think? Which would you say was more fun to wear, the Shinobu or Sypha? Also, Shinobu was why I was dyeing her hair. We
Yes.
really never actually fully answered that question as to why that happened.
Yes. Yeah, I mean the Shinobu was definitely more comfortable.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean I feel like comfort wins over the fun triangles in a way, but I
Valid.
mean so cozy, except for having to wear the contacts. Everything about that was super comfortable. And what's nice is now I have the Demon Slayer uniform and I can just trade out Haoris and get the like I forgot the leg things, what they're called again.
I don't remember either.
It's like yeah something. I know it's HYA. Something.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember what the rest of it is, but
Yeah, that's gonna bother me, but yeah.
so that's nice.
I absolutely love that for you. I don't know if we necessarily have it. Oh, well, actually, sure, we'll call this a story. One of the people, or groups of people that we are sort of coming to consider as our con friends, we ran into somebody who has appeared on, 2 people who have appeared on this podcast before, the hosts of the Big Dumb Monsters podcast, and they did something that I was not expecting, which was pulled out a cooler from underneath their table and were like, "Do you guys want some whiskey?" And I was assuming it was gonna be like little, small, like, bottles that one might sneak into wherever. But the full, just like full bar, it was like, here are your options, and there were like several different like full size bottles of whiskey. Didn't see that one coming, but thanks guys, that was
Yeah,
delightful.
I was so surprised. My first thought was like, is this allowed? But second thought, don't really care.
I mean,
So
nothing
that
bad
was nice.
happened.
Yeah, I did get followed around by a child
Yeah,
for a
that was a
very
little
long.
odd.
Yeah, because when I was dressed as Shinobu, she was dressed as Nezuko from the same anime, and apparently thought that for some reason that warranted following me around for like was it like an hour?
Yeah, no, it was a hominin. And here's the thing, I truly do understand. Like, I have been an overexcited child in public,
Yeah,
in a situation like that before. So like on the one hand I get it, but on the other hand, go away.
yeah, it was a lot.
It was a lot.
Yeah, but it was good, and now we got another one in a couple months.
Exciting.
Saratoga Part 2, I guess.
Round 2, Electric
Round
Boogaloo.
2. Yeah.
But yeah, fun times all around. But the fact that we went to another convention kind of sparked a discussion point in your mind. Do you want to share with the class, essentially?
Yeah, it's one of those things that has, as I've gotten to more cons and especially as I've gotten to know more like stuff that is at the cons,
Mm-hmm.
like more shows and movies and things. Um, it's something I've started to think about more. And I was definitely thinking about it a lot this past weekend because I feel like I don't like to use necessarily the term like cliques at the con because that sort of suggests that people are like excluding others and or insulary or whatever. That's not what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But it's people have their sort of areas of fandom,
Yeah,
and I feel like
there's
those
subsets.
yeah like those groups have distinct personalities. I feel
I would agree.
like I definitely think there's a clear disconnect between the Marvel superhero people and pretty much everyone else.
I would agree.
That was the thing that came to mind because there was a table that had Lego minifigures, and I got really excited, and they were all either Marvel or Star Wars, pretty much. And I feel like Star Wars as well doesn't really cross over usually with a lot of things.
I think it's because those two in particular have become so. And
Disney-fied?
maybe here's the thing. That is probably a good word, but because I feel like the only other way I could describe it, and it's gonna sound kind of ridiculous because we exist in a capitalist society, but like Star Wars and Marvel in particular have become so horrendously capitalist.
Oh yeah. I
Like
mean,
it's really truly not about story anymore with those things. I feel it is about intellectual property.
yeah. And I mean, I honestly do not mean this to be
And like if
offensive.
you enjoy a Marvel movie, like have fun. There are ones that I like, older ones that I still like. If you enjoy a new Marvel movie, hell, I don't care. Like I'm not here to be rude about anything that brings somebody joy and isn't really hurting anybody, even if I perhaps am kind of over it personally. So, like, blanket statement there.
Yeah.
Enjoy your life.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy a Marvel movie. I've seen pretty much all of them in the theaters. It's a good time, you know. Sometimes you just want to have some popcorn and watch some CGI,
Yeah,
you know.
sometimes it's just fun to watch buildings explode.
Yeah, sure, right? But at the same time, like I feel like that's as mainstream as it gets at a con.
Oh, absolutely,
Like,
yeah.
so in that way, like there's part of me that really wants to use the word basic.
I mean, I
I don't
think
mean it in
to
a
a degree
derogatory way.
it kind of is. Like, it is the most widespread, culturally palatable fandom to people who are perhaps not necessarily fandom participants outside of enjoying some Marvel movies or enjoying Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to compare it to like high school cliques, I feel like those are like the popular kids, the jocks, you know. Like
Essentially, yeah. And I mean, like,
that's what I was thinking about in my head.
my criticisms of the public at large having bad taste aside, I also do try to kind of keep in my mind that if something was entirely, like, completely and totally garbage, had no redeeming qualities, nothing good about it, nobody would watch it.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't be watched. So, like, clearly people find something in it.
Yeah. No, again, I like it. I like the Star Wars movies. I grew up watching the original 3,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah, I
Um,
love the original trilogy. I have
yeah.
a
Newer
special edition VHS box set of the original trilogy. That was my dad's.
I always watched them on VHS. never got never got newer copies.
Good
Um,
stuff. I don't think I
yeah, I
have newer
mean,
copies either.
and so it's like, yeah, it's enjoyable, but at the same time, it's actually related to a conversation that we were having in class yesterday because we were
Ooh,
talking about
fantastic.
and this notion of whether the perceived popularity of your fandom in any way affects your connection to that fandom or like its importance to your identity. Because the thought being, if something is super popular, like a Marvel film, right, like just or the Marvel universe in general,
Mm-hmm.
then it might be something you really enjoy, but I feel like it's less likely to be part of your identity, and it's maybe going to be less important to you than like a very little known fandom.
I'm gonna say that you make some solid points, and like in my own personal experience, I have things that sort of both prove and disprove this because, like, obviously, like Twin Peaks, for example, yes, it's iconic, yes, a lot of people know it, but it's not Cheers, it's not Friends.
Yeah, well, and I wouldn't put that at the same level as, you know, what I'm thinking about because a lot of people haven't seen that. Like
Yeah,
most people I talk to haven't seen it.
yeah. So like, there's that, but also sort of within some other subsets that I exist within, like Ghost is probably one of the biggest like rock slash metal acts that is touring right now, and like massively popular, but that is still so massive to like so important to me intrinsically.
But it's still not mainstream in the way that like Marvel is.
Yeah, okay, you make
Like
solid points.
you go and talk to a random person on the street and you ask them who Ghost is, there's a good chance they won't know. Like, I wouldn't know if it weren't for you.
Fair, very fair.
But you ask somebody, hey, have you seen a Thor movie? And pretty much everybody's going to say yes, you know?
I mean, to some degree, yes. I know that some very staunch holdouts.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the vast majority of people.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I think, point being that something like the Marvel Cinematic Universe is a much bigger fandom than Ghost still.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 100%.
You know?
But yeah,
So
I think...
it's in degrees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I feel like if it's something huge, like, you know, a Friends or Marvel stuff or Taylor Swift, you know, I don't, that doesn't mean you don't love it and then you don't have a connection to it. I feel like it's somehow less about identity.
And this is just from anecdotal evidence of what I have seen on the internet, I would say the opposite almost exists with the Taylor Swift thing.
Yeah.
Like, just...
It becomes their whole personality.
Essentially, yeah. And I mean, like, not that I haven't fucking been there. You can boil me down to 3 things, and I'm not even ashamed of it. So, like, whatever, bro. Like, again, do what makes you happy.
I actually had specifically brought up Swifties in class yesterday, and a student was like, well, no, I actually like my sister, that is her whole life. And I don't mean to be like mean and say she has like nothing else going on, but that's kind of the reason. And so it's maybe not just about the fandom, it is about the individual to an extent.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But just on the whole of it,
I think perhaps with any fandom that is bigger, you are, like, because you're drawing from a bigger pool, one, you're going to find more people where, regardless of the popularity of the fandom, it is an identity thing. But because it's also so much further reaching than a much smaller niche fandom, you're also just going to find more people who are like, yeah, I'd go see this.
Yeah, well, it very much relates to the idea of distinctiveness theory.
Mm-hmm.
It's been quite a while since I've tried to talk about academic stuff. So.
You know, I'm gonna give this one to us. I think we can have a little bit of academic media discussion as a treat.
It's a brief mention, I promise, because like the basic premise of it.
This is fun for me. That's why I was like, this is, I'm having a great time. People who are listening, maybe not, but you've got a comm professor and a comm major here, so we're just gonna take a couple seconds and have some fun with media discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I could have just left the theory out of it and just talked about the premise, but whatever. But I mean, the really basic idea of distinctiveness theory is that the more distinct or like minority certain characteristics of ours are, the more we are aware of them and notice them.
Yeah, okay.
So like the easiest thing to think about is race, right? Because the kind of dominant, quote unquote, dominant race in the US is white, and we treat it as like normal, right? And everything else is being a divergence from that. And so white people tend not to think about the fact that they're white.
But then, really, for example, a white person perhaps goes to somewhere, Japan, for example, where they really stand out, and it's like, oh, I'm suddenly very aware of the fact that I am white and not Asian.
Absolutely, right? Yeah, and then, you know, other races, if they are not the majority, are going to be just generally more aware of their race. And that goes for being aware of themselves, you know, like being in another country where you're surrounded by people of a different race.
Mm-hmm.
And it also applies to like media, which is of course the context in which I use it, where you're more likely to notice characters that have a similarity to you in some respect, if that is a minority like characteristic.
Oh yeah.
So like again, we probably don't notice white characters that are white because most media characters unfortunately are white, whereas somebody who isn't is more likely to notice when there's a character of their race in the media. So the reason I bring it up is because I think it sort of applies here, because it's not just that you're more aware that it's something that is not majority, but it becomes more important to you, like a bigger part of your identity in those moments.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
Like if we use your example of like going to Japan, right? So being here in the US, surrounded by a lot of white people most of the time, again, unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
we've kind of racially segregated still, but you don't really think about it. It's not an important part of your identity. But then you go somewhere else to a different country, and all of a sudden, being white, being American is an important part of your identity because it's changing the way you see the world, right? That's going to be how you have to relate to people
Mm-hmm.
as like the white American.
And
So,
actually, when you bring up the noticing characters of whatever minority like race or group that you might belong to, I like noticing, for example, a Korean character on an American show. I do wonder if that flip, like, it would also, like, it would flip and stick out if a K drama had, like, the one American character.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, right? But that's why this kind of makes some sense because if you are part of a big fandom,
Mm-hmm.
and you're likely to come across other people who have also consumed or are big fans of that thing, you might not think about it as much as if it's something lesser known and it's very unlikely that people you come across will know it. And so it becomes more important to who you are and it's something you think about more.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's the way I would like. I freaked out at Saratoga Comic Con when I last time when I came across like the two other Ghost cosplayers that I saw the entire convention,
Yeah.
whereas there were so many anime cosplayers.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, anime shows they have such good options.
Oh, 100%. And like there's also just such an
For
industry of like websites where it's like here's a bunch of anime cosplays you can purchase.
Yep.
Whereas
Yep.
like Ghost, you kind of gotta figure it out yourself.
Yeah. But I mean, I just thinking about just music in general, like most of the bands I listen to, I don't know anybody else who listens to them or even has heard of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so that to me has always been a big part of like who I am,
Yeah.
you know? I'm the girl that likes this kind of music that I wish I knew people that liked it and could enjoy it with me. But that's just the way it is versus if you listen to top 40 type music or whatever it is these days,
Yeah.
it's probably not going to be as big a part of your personality and identity.
So to bring this all back around to conflicts,
Yes.
what would we say our observations are? Or what were some of the observations you made that sort of planted this idea in your head? Because I'm sure I'm going to have noticed similar patterns, having been to multiple cons with you specifically now.
Yeah, it's interesting because, okay, so first of all, there was definitely that segregation of like, I feel like there are the kind of superhero, um, like merch tables and people that dress like that. I actually think we saw a bit more of it at Toricon,
Yeah.
that sort of division, which is weird because it's an anime.
I
But
think it's easier to be a casual superhero Marvel fan slash cosplayer because like you could get it at Spirit Halloween.
yeah,
Whereas
well,
like whatever niche anime, you might have to like hand sew it.
yeah, yeah. But I feel like there is sort of that division of like superhero that doesn't seem to cross over with anything else like anime and
Mm-hmm.
you know it tends to be sort of on its own.
I would agree.
um, and then I've also noticed, and this is largely based on uh, like the merchandise tense, but tense, wow.
Tables. We're doing great.
My brain just like ceased to work for a moment.
Very proud.
um, but anyway, so like the various vendors in the vendor area, there's almost always one or two that seem to be exclusively Pokemon.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's sort of interesting. Um, and then you tend to have tables that are just like just general anime,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
I feel like because Pokemon one has been around for so long and like has such a multi-generational fan base, and again just sheer numbers like of media properties that have come out of Japan, Pokemon is one of, if not the most recognizable.
Yeah, which is interesting. Yeah, I think part of it is, like you say, the sheer number, because I'm thinking about the one booth that was entirely Pokemon last weekend, and just the bins of various stuffed
Pokemon
Pokemon.
plushies.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, yeah, you kind of need space to, I mean, to have this tiny fraction
Yeah.
of the various Pokemon. Um, but it's interesting to think, is it about that, or is it something about the sort of far-reaching nature of it? Because it's not just, a show, it's not just video games, it's, the cards and,
Yeah, it's a
you know
show. And like there also is a manga. Like there's a manga, there's a show, there's the cards, there's the video games, and there's like so many other things now. Like there's also like there's movies, there's Pokemon Go, so there's like an AR game.
yep.
Like it just keeps expanding, which like no fucking
Yeah.
complaints from me. I am a Pokemon stan since like first grade.
But it's fascinating though, right? Because I can't think of any other fandom that's had just completely separate like merch tables like that. Um,
And I do wonder if, especially with
but
Pokemon in particular nowadays, it's because there's so goddamn many of them.
well, but at the same time, I might be forgetting one, but I don't know that I've seen anyone cosplaying.
I have. I have seen some Team Rocket cosplays from the anime, and I have seen people cosplay as the some of the default avatars from the older Pokemon games, Pokemon Fire Red in particular, my starter game.
Huh. But
I've
not
seen
as
people, and I've seen people wearing like, especially because these ones are like kind of easy, low effort. If you just want to like go and be comfy, like Pikachu or Eevee, like Kigurumi onesies.
Yeah, that's cheating.
Fair enough.
I was gonna say no one dresses actual Pokemon though, because you were talking about like humans,
Point taken.
right? Yeah, I mean it just seems disproportionate, I guess.
I suppose so.
Which is I don't know.
I've never
like,
seen any. I've never seen anyone cosplay like a really hyper specific gym leader, though. Like I've seen people cosplay Misty because like she's in the anime,
mm-hmm.
or like and maybe Brock, like maybe Jesse and James from the anime, but I've never seen somebody cosplaying as like, oh, what's his fucking face from one of the early games, like Lieutenant Surge or something really hyper specific like that.
Yeah, just I mean, there's no evaluation attached to that, just an observation that there's so much Pokemon stuff, but seemingly very little Pokemon cosplay, which is just interesting.
And I wonder if that does have a lot to do with the fact that, one, it's all very distinctly non-humans. It's not like, oh, anthropomorphized. Like, a lot of the most iconic characters are very, very, very much like small, tiny animals.
Yeah.
And then if you're playing Pokemon, it's a self-insert, essentially. So, like, what's the point? Like, it's not like you're playing as a specific protagonist. Like, yeah, you can cosplay Ash. I've seen people do it. But, like, from a lot of the, like, if you're really into the games as opposed to, like, you know, having grown up with the cartoon or whatever, like, what really is there to cosplay as? Because it's just a little avatar that you give your own name to, usually.
Yeah. Yeah.
I noticed an interesting age divide between a lot of anime fans and a lot of people who are who are at cons for other things like Marvel's. Like Marvel, obviously, like you know, widest ranging, but like anime fans tend to be younger. I've noticed, but that's probably just because of like how, in the grand scheme of things, recently anime has exploded in the West, in the United States in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not that like there are so many super popular animes like from the 80s and 90s or whatever, but that was like, it was considered more of a kind of underground, like, oh, those are real like nerds type thing at the time, whereas now like tons, like so many more people are like openly like, yeah, I like anime, and it's not like a weird, like it's not considered like a weird thing anymore.
Yeah.
Or at least to the degree that I'm aware as a person who is just now really getting into the like actual anime as opposed to like some anime films that I have always loved since I was a kid, like Studio Ghibli films. Some observations, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it varies a lot. Well, I think people at cons who dress up often seem to skew younger anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
I was trying to picture like older people and what they often dress up as, but I have more trouble picturing that than people in like their teens and 20s mostly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean, but I definitely, anime has become much more mainstream. I mean, you can go to like Target and buy anime t-shirts and like PJ pants and stuff like that,
Yeah, which like
which
was
didn't used to be a thing.
yeah, utterly unheard of in like
Yeah.
what, the 90s?
Yeah, which, I've talked about this before. I can't remember, probably at some point on the pod, but like definitely when I was growing up, there was this attitude of like Pokemon in particular, like this is for boys.
Mm-hmm.
And if you even think about like buying a pack of Pokemon cards, you will be a social pariah and no one
No,
will
I
be.
have noticed this because like when I was a kid, and like obviously like kids are dumb and have stupid ass backwards ideas. When I was a kid, there was like I definitely experienced some kind of like gatekeeping of like, oh, this is a guy's thing. You're like, on the fucking playground. It's like, oh, you're a girl. But nowhere near as militant as it seems to have been, like from what I can gather of like other people's experiences, like reading about them, seeing it in movies, yada yada.
Yeah.
Like the absolutely militant divide between like young girls entertainment and young boys entertainment.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it used to be very clearly defined and there were consequences, which you could just choose to suffer the
Especially because I
consequences.
look back at like older children's media from like the 80s in particular. It also seems that like the like children's media was either hyper masculine or hyper feminine, like
Yeah.
GI Joe, He-Man, Ninja
Yeah.
Turtles versus like My Little Pony and
Mhm.
like Polly Pocket. And like I
Okay.
mean you've always had Barbie being kind of a hyper feminine thing, but like Barbie.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it used to be very specific. And one of the things that's so annoying about it is like that started from the time like you'd be very little and it like
Mm-hmm.
sort of programs your brain in that way. Is that you have this automatic reaction to anything that you were told like wasn't for you or was like it sounds kind of terrible to say, but like too nerdy. Like you would literally not be able to have friends because everyone would make fun of you all the time,
Mm-hmm.
And
And like
as a
not that I
kid,
had an easy time in
yeah,
grade school, but like we fucking traded Pokemon cards at school, bro.
yeah, no, that wouldn't have been okay. You would be just kind of like pushed aside. And as a kid, you you know
Oh, you
you want to have
internalize that shit.
you, yeah. And so even as an adult, I it's not like I was like, oh, I'm interested in this, but I would never look at it. It's just like it never even occurred to me to think about like Pokemon or anime or any of that stuff because it had been so like
Which
drilled
is
into me as a kid.
so fascinating to me because like in the grand scheme of things, you're not that much older than me. So like seeing that like in the amount of time between our childhoods, like it went from not even being able to think of the idea of like touching Pokemon to this is kind of on the periphery of everyone's childhood, whether or not you actually played the games or watched the cartoon or even liked anime. Like everyone who's my age, unless you like grew up under a rock, knows like Pikachu and Squirtle.
Yeah, I mean, I think Pikachu was at least known at that time. It's hard to think back at this point, but yeah, no, we were all busy playing with Pogs. Okay, didn't have
Kind of
time.
fun.
I still gotta find. I still have a few more boxes to go through. I haven't found my Pogs yet. They're somewhere. I still have them.
I am excited to see them when you do uncover them. But yeah, I have noticed the anime cosplayer in general is younger, with
Yeah.
some exceptions. I mean, like you just cosplayed two anime characters, but like
I've only cosplayed anime characters. Oh no, I not over the garden wall.
So, I mean, there's that as a
I know.
fun sort of outlier in our
Yeah.
own very personal experience. But,
Yeah, especially Demon Slayer, like I thought it was like for kids kind of thing, and especially when I started watching it, it seemed very like pure and positive. I was like, oh yeah, this is like for kids. I don't know if I can keep watching this. And then eventually it gets further. I'm like, this should not be watched by children.
and I mean, is that not always how it goes?
Yeah, but children watch it clearly, so
Very clearly. Um, I mean, that's the biggest thing that I personally have taken notice of, and like obviously it depends on where you go because like Toricon, hosted by the Anime Club at a university, there
yeah.
you like you're pulling from a much more sort of homogenous pool of nerds essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So like most of the anime cosplayers there are in their late teens and 20s.
A lot of college age kids, yeah.
So,
Yeah, I felt like there were more kids at this last one than even at Saratoga.
which was
I
kind of interesting.
yeah.
And like I don't necessarily know why that would be because I've seen like we some of like a lot of the same vendors will do like cons all over New York State.
Mm-hmm.
So like
Yeah.
I didn't see a huge difference in like what there was available that would be like, oh, this is particularly child friendly versus this is
Yeah.
more older people.
When this is the same people that put on the Saratoga
Yeah.
Comic Con. And
So,
so it's like, yeah, it was so similar. And yet, I don't know if it's just the location of it or I don't know.
yeah. Yeah, I don't
But
know.
yeah, so it's just kind of interesting. And I feel like there feels like something very different. Like there's there seems to always be at least one group of people in Star Trek uniforms.
I've noticed that
And
the Star Trek people skew older.
yeah, and they seem to have a different kind of vibe. Like something about them.
Yeah.
Maybe it is the age because I don't think I've ever seen anybody young wearing a Star Trek uniform actually.
Now that you
And maybe
point
that's because the original series goes back. I always have to do the math. What year is this? 60 years
yeah.
almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
that would make sense why we would have older people because those are people that maybe grew up watching the original series or next
Yeah.
gen. You know.
And also like
But
Star Trek kind of helped launch the whole like convention, like the nerd convention.
well, yeah, I mean Star Trek early on being like a fan club and
Mm-hmm.
having the uh, the zine and everything.
Yeah. Like they did a lot for
Pioneers.
fandom
Yeah.
as a concept.
Yeah. Yeah. I talked about them a lot in class the last week.
Hell yes.
Lots of Star Trek talk. I couldn't stop.
Although I gotta say,
Um,
you know what you don't see a lot of cosplay for, and I think it's because like obviously I have seen it, but I don't see it nearly as much as other sort of media properties that have like very clearly defined like this is a character type costumes. I don't see a lot of X Files. And
yeah.
like that's a massive, massive, like far reaching fandom that's been around for quite some time. But like wear a suit, put on a badge, like I feel like it doesn't necessarily like again, I've seen plenty of X Files cosplayers, tons of people absolutely do it, but like at your sort of broad strokes, everything nerdy con, like I feel like it's almost like it's too easy.
I wonder if it's anything to do with just the cons that we've been to.
I'm
Because
sure that has something to do with it
yeah.
because like some of the one like most of the ones that I've been to in recent memory tend seem to have skewed more towards the anime side of things, and maybe that also has something to do with the fact that like anime is continuing to explode in popularity in the United States
Hmm.
to a degree that maybe it wasn't necessarily when I was like in high school. Like the last
Yeah.
time I went to New York City Comic Con, I was like sophomore in college. No, I was a freshman in college. So like, there's that.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe it would be probably different now. Much more anime. Yeah. Well, and like I honestly don't know that I have seen anybody dressed as a character from Doctor Who. And
And
any
you
that
know
could
what? When I went to New York City Comic Con in like 2015, I was most certainly not the only Doctor Who cosplayer there.
yeah.
And like
Which again,
again, maybe this has something to do with the conventions that we're going to. I'm certain if I were to go to the New York City Comic Con that is happening this October, I would see plenty of Doctor Who cosplayers all over the place.
yeah.
But like,
Yeah, it's
eh?
strange, you know. There
Mm-hmm.
doesn't seem to be a lot of like Doctor Who merch and stuff like that, which, it's one of the biggest fandoms in the world because it's, and
And I
how
also
many
do
countries.
wonder if that's because Doctor Who had kind of its like, at least in recent memory, had its hottest moment in like the kind of 2013, 2014 like Tumblr era super Hulock type
It might,
beat.
it might also have something to do with the fact that we're like in a drought spell right now, so to speak.
Yeah, so like once
You
we
know?
have a new season, maybe people are really gonna pop off with it again.
Yeah, like they come out and they're like, we have a new doctor, and then
And
they're
like
like,
tons of cool costumes.
yeah, here's the outfit, and then like that's all we've gotten for a few years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
so I mean, it's all so circumstantial, but there's some fun observations for you from two people who have been going to some cons recently.
yeah, just some general thoughts about the nature of merch and costumes.
We absolutely love it, but I would really love to get into this extended worsening with you, bestie, because I can see something that you have talked about a lot, and you did not even consult me before pulling the trigger.
But I've talked about it so
You've
much.
talked about it a lot, but I figured you would probably send me some text of, like, I'm about to do this thing, and I would either tell you, yes, you absolutely should, or I shouldn't be encouraging this, but do it anyway.
Well, so the thing is, there was a sale.
Fucking hell.
There's never a sale. Like, I have looked at getting a Cricut Maker 3, like, constantly for a very long time, and
You
they
have
never go
talked
on
about it a
sale.
lot.
And admittedly, it was not a great sale, but they literally never go on sale. And it was like 400 instead of 430. But they were having sales on all the accessories and stuff too, so I actually saved like a ton of money uh getting like the cutting mats and stuff like that. Um so I actually purchased it on the way home Monday from your place, and because I ordered them from Best Buy, and I stopped and picked that up on the way from the Victor Best Buy.
You're fucking insane.
I'm still waiting for all the accessories to come in. They're taking a little longer because they weren't in stock. But yeah, I have that now. Um, right now, Joanne Fabrics has 50% off all Cricut accessories. So I bought a bunch of vinyl and like iron-on vinyl. And man, do I have plans. I got it all set up and they make you do like a test cut.
Love it.
So that was what it cut out, and I took the thing off. But it's removable vinyl, which is wild to me. Um, but yeah, what because the first thing I did was I went out and I got blue vinyl and white vinyl and
How
gray
did I
vinyl.
know that this was gonna come back to the Hanji cosplay?
Iron-on vinyl specifically. Yes, so I got the exact colors already. Um,
Alright, rock and roll.
yeah, there is definitely a learning curve associated with using the Cricut Design Studio, so it's going to take a little while to figure that out. But man, the possibilities
They
are
are
endless.
endless.
All the things, because I also have um, an engraving tip and a embossing tip that I had
Nice.
to purchase separately.
I'm so proud.
Yeah, so I am set up to make just a ton of stuff, and I got all these like card blanks too. I'm gonna make a custom card for my aunt and uncle's 50th wedding anniversary.
Aw, wait, that's so nice. But also, you could start taking, like, cosplay commissions. You'd be like,
Yeah,
oh, you want to fucking print out of the Wings of Freedom? Here you go.
yeah. I mean, it's just basically a machine with a little knife in it, and different kinds of little knives to cut stuff up. But like the way that it is, like it opens up like a printer, and you actually get to watch it cut the material.
That is
Like,
kind of wild.
which, yeah, again, I've only used it to test it out, but like watching it cut around these letters, it was so fast too. I'm like, wait, it's done already?
Damn, what a time to be alive.
And so now I'm like, man, I got some cool like removable vinyl yesterday, and I'm like, what can I cut out to put on my water?
I'm very here for it.
So literally any phrase or any image can be cut out of vinyl and stuck to things.
This is not a good thing for me
Yeah.
to like be even in proximity to because I have just so many dumb things that I would like to stick on things.
Or stuff you want to like iron on a shirt because there's the iron on vinyl too.
God, we are about to become menaces to society.
Or things you want engraved into metal or glass. It also like or leather. You can put like monograms on leather and stuff.
This is dangerous for both of us.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I got some cool vinyl, so
So are you worse in any other ways or is that your main one?
oh, I mean, there's other ways. I mean, there's all the convention related stuff. Um and I also I just started making it because it arrived today. It is a paper theater ball. Here's the box. This is what it's going to look like. You
Oh
put it
my
all
god, I absolutely love it. Brooks watched her first Miyazaki movie and she made an excellent choice. It was Spirited Away.
Mhm.
So we have that too.
Yeah, and I discovered a set of like a collection of every Miyazaki movie, and it's on my Amazon wish list now. So
Kyle has one of those.
I'll have literally all of them. So I'm
Exciting, exciting.
getting versed that way as well. Um, and then I guess we can throw in the Pokemon.
I was about to say, I know there's one more thing. Which is kind of directly my fault because I literally like stuck an old Game Boy Advance into your hands and was like, you need to understand. Because you kept saying, oh, I wish I was a Pokemon person because I see all these cute plushies and stuff at conventions. I was like, just become one!
Yeah.
Just become one. So that
But
happened.
it's such a like it's hard to find an entry point because it is such a big thing.
That's
You
also
know?
very fair.
Um, man, that sounded really bad out of context. So anyway,
Nobody clip that. Anyway, indeed.
but yeah, I mean, so it's what Game Boy Advance
Mm-hmm.
uh, and the Leaf Green Pokemon game, which
Have you been
not
caught playing in your office yet?
no, I actually haven't played it since I got home, just because I hit the ground running, doing work and unpacking and
Of
all that.
course, of course.
So I've been a little too busy. But yeah, so now I'm learning all these Pokemon that I've never heard of before and catching them, and it's
Yay.
so weird that now at nearly 38 years old, in 2 weeks from today, I'll be 38. That I am just now realizing like, okay, I can learn Pokemon things. No one's gonna shun me or like
Yeah.
not want to hang out with me anymore.
Yeah, this is like
Wow.
that's fascinating to me because that was like the basis of some friendships.
Yeah, no, it was just, and again, even the anime, like the first time I ever watched it was when we did Banana Fish for the stream. And I remember when you first suggested it, and I was like, okay, because I'm like, I like trying new things, but at the same time, it's hard to get that block out,
Yeah, I
where I'm
feel
like,
that. I really do.
it's not for me, but if you really want to do it, sure.
And now look at us.
So it took a while, but and now I have an entire manga shelf over there with multiple complete manga series and little plushies and figures,
Hell yeah.
like a Death Note and all that kind of stuff. So
Absolutely love it.
yeah, that's who I am now.
Speaking of anime, here's one of the ways that I'm worse this week. I started Evangelion.
Did you? I know you sent your 5 episode review. Is that as far as you got?
No, we watched 3 more last night.
Okay. Oh,
And,
right, that was the other day.
man, oh man.
Like violent man oh man, weird man oh man.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's one of those like foundational texts of one, the form in general, and two, in particular, the form making its way into English-speaking circles.
Mhm.
So, like, I see it, and I can see so many things that, one, it influenced, and that, two, were, like, kind of concurrently influenced by it.
Mhm.
It's wild. It's nuts.
I'm not
Highly
currently watching.
recommend.
I'm not currently watching an anime series, so maybe I'll watch that because I really stalled out on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Oh,
I
you
tried.
tried it?
Oh, I was into season 2 before I just like I can't.
Why did I
That's
not
enough.
know that?
We've talked about it.
I thought you watched, like, a couple episodes, not an entire season.
Yeah, no, I was trying to like get through all of it, and it just wasn't
Didn't,
keeping me engaged. I guess
didn't click.
you know.
I
Yeah,
see memes of it, and of just, like, of the most ridiculous scenes from it, and it looks like so much fun.
it is absolutely ridiculous. There's a character named Ario Speedwagon. Like, why?
I mean, why not?
I mean, I guess, but
But yeah, I
it's
am worse
like, yeah.
because I started Evangelion, and in getting you to try out Pokemon, I have once again picked up Pokemon, and holy shit, I am so back on my BS with Pokemon Brilliant Diamond on my Switch.
Yeah, there was so much Pokemon talk, especially like Sunday and Monday.
I know, we literally all just sat there each playing it on a different device and like talking about random things that had to do with Pokemon because you had questions about like what am I supposed to do here? Kyle was doing his like hyper specific like catching Pokemon for all of these specific stats. Meanwhile, I'm just like, okay, getting back into this. Let's
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
There's a lot happening.
Me just announcing every time I see a new Pokemon,
Yeah, that was fun. I was
or
here for
announcing
it.
every time I leveled up.
I was
Especially
I
my
was very much here
sort of
for it. I like that you were nicknaming all like just about every single one you caught for like about an hour.
Oh, I think it was the first like 8. But I stopped doing it because I kept forgetting what kind of Pokemon they were, and the pictures are so small, it's hard to, because like it made sense that my Charmander was Charlie. Like that was
Yeah.
okay, that was nice and straightforward. But then, um, and then I named my Pidgey Coo.
See, it's
Just Pidgey
interesting, like,
Coo.
again, obviously because you weren't, like, a fan of this growing up, but I'm just like, what do you mean you don't know what it is just by looking at it?
I mean, it's not that so much as I can't see them
Valid.
because
But
the picture is like this small, and I wasn't wearing my glasses.
that's fair. But yeah, like, you show me any Pokemon from the first, like, 4 generations, in a second I can name it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's all in there.
That'll happen.
That'll happen.
It'll happen.
You will indeed have that. But I think with us so much worse than we were last week and going to be worse next week, I think that's where we're going to leave y'all for tonight. As always, thank you for fighting with us, friends. We appreciate each and every single one of you, and we will be back again next week. Adios. This week's episode of the Fighting with Friends podcast was hosted by Bridget Kelly and Dr. Sarah Brooks. You can find other episodes of the podcast on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, or your other favorite listening platform. Follow us on Twitter at BridgetKelly98 and at AndSarahSaid. Rate and review us on your podcatcher of choice. Like, comment, and subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Twitch and Facebook, and join our Discord community using the links in the description. You can also help support us via the Acast supporter feature, or consider donating to our Patreon for early access to episodes and fun bonus content. Thanks for listening!